Hey man, all right. Welcome to Get Dates #1. And the first part is getting to know women and what it means to be able to do volume. Because when it comes to women dating and love, volume solves just about every problem there is. I'm talking about if you've got the volume of meeting new women, you've got more dates, you've got more options. It makes it easier to text women and it makes it easier to go on dates. And obviously, it makes it easier then to quickly find the type of woman that you want to get into a relationship with. And volume starts with how many new women you meet who are open to dating on a daily or weekly basis. Now, the truth is that most men are not meeting any new women at all. Sure, they might say, oh, I've got a new barista at my local cafe, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about meeting women who are open to dating and are interested in dating you and for you putting yourself out there and trying to progress those forward. Because a lot of guys will tell me, oh, I met a new woman here and there, or even worse, I haven't met any new women for years. Okay. And meeting new women doesn't even count first dates. This is just meeting new women. Why does this happen? Okay, think about it, man. When you were in high school, if you had a bit of a friends group, you carried them through outside. Once you left school, you still kept seeing those friends. Then maybe you went to university or started a cool casual job in a nightclub or a bar where there was lots of people working. All sorts of reasons that your social circle and your social network would grow and expand during that late teens, early 20s period of life. And then after uni or you get a serious job, that's when it starts to contract. Maybe you meet an awesome girl and you get into a relationship and it contracts even more. You adopt her friends. Maybe you lose some of your own friends as a guy. That's very common. And then, you spend 10, 15, 20 years locked in a relationship with that one girl, living your own life with your family. Maybe you're caring about kids, whatever it is. And your social circle is shrinking and shrinking till you've just got maybe one good buddy and a couple of shared friends between you and your missus, right? And then what happens? The divorce. Okay, once you get a divorce, the friends, generally speaking, go with the woman. That's just how it goes. And you're left with your career, work, maybe single parenting if you were a dad. You're busy. You don't want to party. You've got your health to think of. You've got your sleep to think of. You don't want to be going out 3 nights a week. You don't want to drink a lot of alcohol. You've got time constraints. You've got life responsibilities. You've got your own hobbies and interests and pursuits. Maybe you've got side hustles. You just don't have time for any of this. And so what happens is your social circle shrinks. You've got no opportunities now. You've got no system, no way of meeting new women for dating. All right. Now, there's different ways that you can meet new women, and we're going to get into that into the next video. But without having volume of new women in your life, there's a massive, massive cost. It comes at a massive, massive cost. Okay? A lot of guys today are just giving up, okay? Giving up or waiting and hoping that the right one will come along. Feeling invisible, feeling rejected, feeling unworthy, feeling like the dating scene is rigged, feeling hopeless, starting to doubt themselves, starting to doubt their self-worth, starting to lose confidence in themselves, starting to think, what's the point of living? This is the real cost of not having any volume. But it's really just simply because most guys don't even realize how it's come to this and the dynamics that have caused this to happen. They've got no way of meeting new women, and from that pool of new women coming into their life, creating dates. Okay. Now, if you do it right, if you adopt any of the possible systems for meeting new women and do the right things, what can happen for you is you have abundance. You have abundance of new exciting opportunities, abundance of dating options, abundance of female and love options. You begin to feel control over your life. You begin to build self-confidence, sexual self-confidence. You begin to feel success. You begin to feel more attractive. You begin to improve your self-esteem. Okay, this is and once you start building all of that, every other area of your life starts to be positively impacted by that. You start to have a greater impact on the friends that you've got, or maybe if you've got kids or the rest of your family. You start to have a greater impact at work. Start to have a greater impact on all the, maybe at the gym, whatever it is. Everything improves when you start to get more volume of new women into your life and you're converting them onto dates and heading towards meeting the right women for you. Take James, for example, and you'll find a link to his interview in down below this video. James came to me, and there's nothing wrong with him as a man. He's just a great, cool dude, an executive, a couple of kids from a divorce, and 40 years old, and he was just not having any volume in his life. We had a look at his dating app, and we made some significant tweaks to his photos and his bio, and then we made some significant tweaks to his texting. And what happened is he suddenly went from having no options and no dates and not having any action to being literally flooded to the point where he had to close his books. He could no longer talk to any more new women because he had women coming over to his house for lunchtime, play activities and all sorts of, and same day lays, and he was traveling for work sometimes, and he'd be using his dating app in the other cities that he'd go to and organize dates and fun with those women, and he was just having the time of his life. And then you can also take Greg, for example. Greg's got 4 kids and divorced, and same deal. He just wasn't having, there was no opportunity in his life for him to meet new women. So we created the opportunity to meet new women and increase the volume. And within, it was under 4 months, of starting the work, he'd actually met his girlfriend, which he's still in a relationship with today and going stronger than ever. Now, if you want to find an amazing girlfriend, or even if you just want to have a bit of fun on the dating scene for a little bit longer before you settle down into a new relationship, but if you want to find a great girlfriend, you're not going to get chosen. Maybe you did when you were younger. You had less baggage, you had a more exciting lifestyle, you were doing more cool things, you were exploring the world, you were traveling, and you were putting yourself in situations where there's a constant flow of new women that were coming across you. And so you were being exposed to women at a much higher frequency that were also younger and, living in a more exciting life and open to potential relationships or dating or whatever it was. So that all the opportunity was there and all the volume was automatically there. Okay. And so it just made it easier for the right women to make themselves more available and make it more easy for you. And you really didn't have to do much when you were in your early 20s, but things are completely different now. You're not going to get chosen as a man over 35 that's come out of a long-term relationship. In order to do that, you're going to have to go on lots of first dates. To meet my beautiful girlfriend that I now live with, I went on 29 new first dates over 9 weeks. And that's a serious amount of volume that a lot of guys don't even realize it takes in order to meet the right person. Okay. And it's really scary to a lot of guys when I tell them that stat. They're like, oh my God, how did you do that? And in their mind, they're thinking this and that, and we can't do it because of this, and it's too expensive and too much time. And how on earth do I meet that new women? And part of this is because those men, and maybe you watching this as well, you never learned the skill of dating. You never learned the skill of efficient, effective dating techniques. And certainly if you come out of a long relationship, you don't know what that means in a modern world, because dating today is completely different to pre-2009. Okay, it has completely changed since 2009. In 2009, when a lot of you were still in a relationship, or prior to that, when you got into a relationship, there was no internet. You weren't meeting any people on the internet. There was no dating apps. There was no Instagram. There was no social media to speak of. People still met a very traditional way, much like your parents did, and your grandparents, and all the generations before you. And things have drastically changed. Dating has become much more commoditized. Okay, and so there's these new layers that we've got to get through. Okay, and if you never learned the skill of game and dating, then it's just a gap that you've got, which is causing you to not be able to create any volume. If you haven't got volume, you haven't got dates. And if you haven't got dates, you haven't got a chance. And so when I give you an idea about the type of volume that is required in order to have a good dating life, a good love life, find a great girl, naturally, without the right system or strategy or skill set, it feels like you don't have time. It feels like you don't have the money. It feels impossible. And I totally get that. You start thinking, I can't afford it, or I don't have the time for that, or I'm too busy for that. And these are all beliefs that keep you stuck because they're preventing you from seeing the way to move forward with this stuff. And instead, what you need is a system and a strategy that makes dating easy, cost efficient, time efficient, repeatable, predictable, autopilot, make dating automatic, almost like a good habit. We're going to make a good habit out of dating. And what that means is we're going to put everything on autopilot. Okay, so that yes, you've still got to take action. It doesn't happen without any inputs from you, but everything that you do is systemized, it's automated, and it's running on autopilot. And you've just got to know exactly when to press this button, when to press that button, when to press that button. Volume fixes everything. Okay, a lot of men today are, first of all, the worst thing you can be doing is caught up on your ex. She's your ex for a reason. Give up on that idea. Let her go. Okay, that's a really massive step you've got to make. But a lot of guys are focusing on just one woman. They see this one beautiful woman that paid them a little bit of attention. And again, this is because they don't have the volume of meeting new women. So in the drought that they're feeling, that they're experiencing, this drought of feminine energy, they come across that one woman that showed a little bit of interest, and the man latches onto that thinking, oh my God, this is it. This is the dream woman. She's so sexy. She's so good. She was so nice to me. She was so kind to me. And you start fantasizing about a relationship with this girl, and then you latch onto that emotionally, and you get what's called one-itis, and you start thinking and fantasizing about this one girl. In the meantime, you're not building any new way to meet new women or find other options. And the act of having that hyper focus on one girl energetically, emotionally, and on her causes her to run a mile, and then you're left with nothing. Okay, so volume fixes everything. And if you're currently meeting 0 or 1 to 2 women, meeting 1 to 2 new women per month, how many of them convert onto dates? How many of them convert into sexual relationships? And if you extrapolate that out, no wonder it feels like you're never going to meet the right one. No wonder it feels like you are not worthy of women. No wonder it feels like you're not attractive. No wonder it feels like you're invisible to women. And that's simply because you haven't implemented a system of meeting new women of significant volume. Okay. And if you extrapolate everything out, how long is it going to take you to find the right one? Think about that. And when you do think about that, you're like, well, probably 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, maybe 1,000 years. I'm not going to live that long. And then it's really easy to start getting depressed about it and start thinking, fuck, I've got to give up. Why would I do that? But by the same time, is that what you really wanted to do? Or is that what you're just being forced into because you don't see any other avenue? You don't see another path. You don't see another way forward. You don't see how it's possible. Okay? And then what happens, right? You risk settling. You risk after 5 years of trying to believe that you can do the rest of your life alone, right? Because you've given up. It's at some point you're gonna be like, you know what, I'm really sick of this. I want someone, and you haven't developed the skill set. You haven't developed the way to meet new women. You haven't developed your game, and so you fall into a relationship with the first person that comes along. Now you're settling again. Now you're getting into a relationship with a low quality woman who's toxic, or you're quitting altogether. And after 10 years, wishing that you'd done something today, as your life enters the twilight years, you're depressed and sad and bitter. You've shown your kids that you're a failure. You've shown your friends that you're a failure. All the while you're justifying it to yourself. Oh, it was this, it was that. Women are the problem, blah, 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 blah. And you're blaming everything external to you. What you need is a system. You need a system that can bring you a reasonable, consistent supply and high volume of new women to meet. You need it to be repeatable, reliable, scalable, time effective, cost effective. And what I'm going to do in the next video is I'm going to break down the 3 different systems and which one is going to be the best and easiest for you and how to master it.